Welcome to Revenge the Drive-In, the podcast dedicated to the good, the bad, and the ugly in horror, action, and exploitation cinema. We're interested in splatter movies, spaghetti westerns, erotic thrillers, B-movies, martial arts films, spy movies, and other similar genres. We pick these films at random from an ever-growing list and attempt to determine whether these two movies would make for a good drive-in double feature. If you end up liking what you see and hear, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/RevengeTheDrive-In. We have some stuff over there that YouTube never ends up seeing, unfortunately. I'm your host, Patrick, and I am joined, as usual, by...
Jim. Hello, Patrick. Hello, everybody.
We've got Raiders of the Lost Ark from director Steven Spielberg, who Vincent and I talked about quite a bit when we were doing the Transformers episode. We've also got The Ward from director John Carpenter. So we've got one of Spielberg's best films, and I would argue one of Carpenter's worst films. Both great directors, of course. And both directors we featured before. We did The Lost World Jurassic Park, and we've done plenty of Carpenter movies. We did Big Trouble in Little China, we did Halloween.
Yeah.
And Escape from New York, too.
Yeah, so, it's a shame we're doing The Ward.
Obviously, we're going to start with Raiders, and apologies, listeners, and any of you Ward fans out there, you Ward heads. This episode may be Raiders heavy, because why the hell not? It's a classic. So Raiders of the Lost Ark comes out in 1981. It's the biggest movie of the year. The genesis of this film is Steven Spielberg wants to direct a James Bond film.
Okay.
Somebody says no. I'd actually be very curious why they said no, because Spielberg was very hot in 81. He was technically coming off the first failure of his career, but obviously he has Jaws in 75, which kind of is the first summer blockbuster. It's not his first movie, but it's his first real breakthrough, like, major studio. And then he follows that up with Close Encounters, which is another huge movie. And then he follows that up with 1941, which is a bit of a misstep.
I don't think I've even seen that.
I never have either. John Belushi's in it. At any rate, I think there's a reason Spielberg never went back to straight comedy after that. He's really good at mixing comedy into other genres, like you see here with Raiders. So as for the reason why he can't make a Bond film, it's either they were scared because of 1941, or I would guess more likely they didn't want an American directing a James Bond film.
That would have been my guess.
So he's good friends with George Lucas at this point, and he mentions this to Lucas. He's like, I really want to make a Bond movie, but I can't. And Lucas is like, I got something better, dude. And I'm going to agree with him. I prefer Indiana Jones to James Bond. They are different. You know, we don't have to compare the two. Obviously, we're both fans of both franchises.
Yes, of course. I think there is something so exciting about Indiana Jones. I mean, people like
It's the style of adventure.
Well, it is. I mean, people like James Bond because he's a smooth-talking, suave, secret agent who gets all the ladies. And men want to be him, but men also want to be Indiana Jones. They want to be the whip-cracking, gun-slinging, fedora-wearing world adventurer who gets into and then out of dangerous situations.
You know, it has a different look to it. It's much more rugged. Or even down to, obviously, the iconic dress. James Bond, always in a suit when he's not in that classic romper, of course. But Indiana Jones, leather jacket, just like khaki pants, dirty fedora. He's in dirty environments.
Yeah, he's dirty archaeologist.
Yeah, James Bond's in fancy casinos and hotel rooms and stuff, and Indiana Jones is just out here slumming it in the deserts of Egypt. Once again, filming in Tunisia, which is where they filmed a lot of the Tatooine stuff in Star Wars. Tunisia was kind of Hollywood's go-to desert in Africa for one reason or another.
Well, because it wasn't, I mean, Tunisia wasn't dangerous like Egypt was in the 70s and 80s and 60s. And
although, did they, I mean, The Spy Who Loved Me, unless that's some Hollywood magic, they filmed some of that in Egypt, right? I don't know.
Oh, that's right, yes.
I don't know if it was truly filmed there. But yeah, so Indiana Jones, it's a Lucas idea. George Lucas might as well have retired right after this, because it's basically, he had Star Wars, he had Indiana Jones, he didn't really need to do anything else.
Yeah, but how much of Indiana Jones was his idea? I've never really looked into it. I honestly, I didn't even know that it was George Lucas's idea up until about maybe 15 years ago.
The story's his idea. The screenplay is Lawrence Kasdan, who I believe wrote Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, so obviously was a collaborator with Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, like, the actual, like, character and stuff, I think that's Lucas, to my knowledge anyways.
Okay.
Believe it or not, Lucas was hesitant to bring Harrison Ford by, because he didn't want to pigeonhole Harrison Ford as, like, the George Lucas guy. Mm-hmm. But obviously they bring him in, and Ford as a leading man. What's enjoyable about him in those Star Wars movies is that he definitely acts like the leading man even when he's not, but it's just great to see him in the lead here. This is really his first big top of the poster type role, to my knowledge.
Yeah, and he must have been the hottest thing in the world in the early 80s, because he's coming, like, cause he's between, what, 2 Star Wars movies, and Andy's Indiana Jones, this new leading character.
And it's interesting, too, of the 3 leads of the Star Wars franchise, he's the one that truly breaks out. Carrie Fisher did some stuff outside of Star Wars to be significant. Mark Hamill really didn't. Harrison Ford was the true breakout star of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. He obviously cashed in with Spielberg and Lucas, but remained doing outstanding work for the next decade plus. You know, the Jack Ryan movies, The Fugitive, Blade Runner, all that stuff. He had a great run, and depending on how much credit you give him for Star Wars, this could really kind of be the beginning of it. Also, let's not forget, very small role in Apocalypse Now.
Oh, at the beginning, yes.
Yeah, I think he's also in The Conversation, also the other Coppola movie. That would have been before Star Wars, but after Graffiti.
Well, either way, I mean, he's, by this time he's essentially cemented as a household name because of Han Solo.
Oh, for sure.
And now he comes out as this gun-toting archaeologist that men want to be and women fall in love with on the screen.
Everything about him is perfect. Like, I love the film opens in South America somewhere, and it's just a bunch of adventure stuff, and they keep showing clearly, like, the leader of the expedition, but they never show his face. And I love that they have that shot of him looking at the map, and the map is, like, all torn. And I love the shot of, like, Alfred Molina just kind of, like, peering, like... By the way, I love that Alfred Molina, who's just like some random guy in this movie. I love that he went on to become like a name. Like, maybe you didn't even know his name, but you've seen him in stuff.
Oh,
Alfred Molina's in a ton of stuff.
He's
Doc Ock.
Yeah, exactly, Doc Ock. Thank you.
I remember being in the theater with my brother, seeing a trailer for Spider-Man 2, and my brother's like, "That's the guy from Indiana Jones," and I like didn't believe him because it's just like a small role in Indiana like, Jones. Yeah, why would he be in that? But meanwhile, I didn't know, but Alfred Molina had this successful career up to this point, memorable role in Boogie Nights. But anyways, when we finally see the face of Harrison Ford, it's an iconic reveal, intercut obviously with the music and the John Williams score we'll have to talk about, of course. But a guy pulls a gun on him and he goes and whips it out of his hand, and then he just kind of steps into the light, and it's such a badass look. Obviously the fedora, the leather jacket, like the costume itself is awesome. The costume itself is not especially original, because it's obviously inspired by those old serials from like the 30s.
Yeah.
There's a Charlton Heston movie from like the 50s or 60s where he wears that like exact costume that people have drawn comparisons to. I don't recall the name of it off the top of my head.
Interesting. Now, years ago, I got to tell you this, when I was in England, they had a costume exhibit at the Victoria and Albert Museum, and they had the Darth Vader suit, and they had the Indiana Jones costume. Everything, I think, on that he was wearing was like either vintage or vintage styled.
The hat I just read, it came from some famous store in Savile Row. Am I saying that right?
Savile Row?
It is. I didn't want to say Savile. I wasn't sure.
I know, but the British, they bastardize everything.
Well, no, I'm just thinking of Jimmy Savile. That's why I didn't want to say it that way.
But like, I know his bag was like a gas mask bag or something that he wore.
Okay. But when he steps into the light, it's such a great shot. The face he's making, that is a guy you don't want to mess with. He communicates confidence. He communicates heroism, kind of this stoic heroism, but also this just like anger and like don't cross this guy. And then also like everything, the stubble, the sweat,
I was
the
about
beads
to
of
say
sweat.
the stubble.
The stubble's classic. The 80s was the decade of stubble, right? Miami Vice. Did you ever hear about this? Is Don Johnson on Miami Vice
That he essentially
always went with
popularized.
the 5 o'clock shadow, so much so that they actually made and sold like a beard trimmer specifically designed to give you the Don Johnson look.
Yes.
But Harrison Ford was doing it before that.
Yes, well, even also Don Johnson, because I've been watching Miami Vice with my girlfriend because it's on Prime.
Oh, I've been watching it on Tubi.
No way.
I just watched Calderon's Return.
Okay.
About 5-6 episodes in, probably. It's great.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, because I would say I'm probably I guess we're probably about 10, 11 episodes ahead of you, but it's great. Don Johnson's look of like blazer over t-shirt
pastels,
exactly. It was so iconic that he single-handedly created this new style of the 80s.
And maybe if the Indiana Jones look, obviously iconic, perhaps a little too throwbacky to truly kind of reinvent 80s fashion, but it's a great look at any rate. And I'll also mention, because we were talking about Miami Vice, the legend goes they almost got another TV actor for this role, and it would have been Tom Selleck. And Tom Selleck, Magnum, obviously, had an incredible television career, one of the biggest television actors of all time. You can't look at his career and say it was a disappointment, but you do wonder he never really had that top level film role, and could this have just made Tom Selleck a different person? Or would this film have not worked with Tom Selleck? You know, we don't know. It's one of those great what ifs. It's kind of like if they never fired Eric Stoltz on Back to the Future, is Back to the Future still a cultural phenomenon?
Yes, yes, exactly, yeah.
I was recently in Washington, D.C. There's the Smithsonian Museum of Pop Culture. And some curator there was having a laugh because and there's a couple like window displays where they have like a bunch of props and costumes and stuff from things over the years. And I can't remember if it was the whip or the fedora, but they had the Indy something, either the whip or the fedora, right next to Magnum's Detroit Tigers hat. And it's like it's just rubbing salt in Tom Selleck's wounds. It was cruel.
Do you think he was going through the museum and he was like, fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, back to the South America sequence. It ends up really just being Indy and Alfred Molina getting into this temple, and the temple's booby-trapped, and of course Indy is able to spot everything. Alfred Molina's just ready to go walk ahead, and then he takes like a little torch or club or something and sticks it in a thing, and okay, if you put weight on something, a poison dart gets shot out. Just classic booby-trap stuff. And we get to the idol. Indy, again, because he just like recognizes things. He knows it's like on a weighted thing. He can't just take it. So he, of course, takes a bunch of sand. He pours some out. He's trying to figure out, like, he's guessing the weight. And you think he has it, but then as he's turning around, then the thing starts lowering and the temple just starts collapsing. And they go running past all these darts. There's this part where there's the whole part where they have to swing across like a gap.
Yep.
And then the whole, give me the idol, I'll give you the whip. And then Alfred Molina,
such a great scene.
Alfred Molina leaves him to die, but Indy's still able to make the jump. And then when he gets up, I love he comes across Alfred Molina's body having been
pierced with these spikes.
And then, of course, the iconic boulder, which is probably what this scene is best known for. And as famous as the boulder is, the scene isn't really built around the boulder. The boulder's like a relatively small detail of this scene. But
I would say it's
so
probably
classic.
less than 10 seconds of the scene.
Yeah, it does not have a lot of screen time. And, I mean, probably more screen time of him, like, pouring out the sand. But it's such this whole opening action scene is incredible. The whole discovery, everything in the temple. Remember the tarantulas, all that stuff.
That's my favorite part.
The stay out of the light.
Scene. Yes.
The stay out of the light, that's where Alfred Molina went wrong.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just so great.
I love the tarantula bit because Alfred Molina's like, oh, you've got some on you. And he brushes them off Indiana Jones. And then he turns, he goes, do I have any on me? And there's just hundreds.
He's got like a dozen. I always loved the music of that part, too.
That creepy crawly music.
Creepy, yeah. That's something, obviously the Williams-Spielberg partnership is incredible, but just how well Williams' music continuously matches exactly what's happening is just, it can't be overstated. We also can't really talk too much about it because when we're editing this for YouTube, we can't really use a lot about it, so there's not much to say.
No, and this whole video is going to be blocked in Canada anyway, so.
Oh, probably. We've had a rough run there. So Indy gets out of the temple, and he's immediately surrounded by a bunch of native people with blow darts, and of course one Frenchman, Rene Belloc, who takes the idol from him. He taunts him a bit, there's nothing that you can possess that I cannot have. And then he orders the guys to kill him, but Indy takes off. And he's running to the plane, one of those seaplanes, with Jock. Jock is just fishing randomly and sees him running with like 100 natives chasing after him.
Start the plane! Jock, start the plane!
And he gets in the plane and they escape. There is, of course... Jim, do you remember the name of the pet snake?
Reggie. That's just my pet snake, Reggie.
Course, yeah. Reggie. He just has a pet python in the frickin' in the passenger seat for some reason. I love how Indy apparently flew there with him and didn't know there was a snake there. I love it.
Well, so the question is, did he fly there and not knowing that there was a snake in the plane? Or did he find the python while he was fishing?
And he just named it.
And he just named it and then put it in the plane.
Now it's his new pet. He just stole it from its snake family. Yeah,
he just took it out of the Amazon or whatever.
I always thought this is unlikely, but I always thought it was named after Reggie Jackson because the guy's wearing a Yankees hat.
Oh yeah, he's wearing a Yankees hat. Yes.
It's set in the 30s, so Reggie Jackson wouldn't have been born yet, but Reggie Jackson was a recent Yankee great. Might have even still been on the team in 81, I'm not sure. But anyways, iconic scene. We get a lot of these setups that are going to be paid off later. Obviously, we meet Belloc. We don't know a lot about him other than he's an asshole, basically, which is kind of all we need to know about him. And then, obviously, we get the whole I hate snakes stuff that's set up. And then, obviously, we see Indy, how he works. And it's this, constant solving puzzles type adventure man stuff, which is a big part of the movie, and that's as I was saying earlier, what I love about the indie movies is just this style of adventure. Yes, guns are used, but it's more about fists, and it's about running around, and it's about swinging on your whip, and which always, unrealistic as it is just the coolest thing in the world to see someone swinging on a whip across something.
Yeah, and what a cool, weapon/tool to give a main character, a bullwhip, you can...
Very colonially charged, one might say. And of course, the indie movies, not a stranger to racism. I mean, here we already got the natives. Who the hell are they? I don't know.
Yeah.
We got a Welshman playing an Egyptian later, of course.
Yes, that's true, yeah.
Although, in my eyes, John Rhys Davies is a Muslim. I don't care.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just a great opening. This fantastic way to introduce your main character. He is this incredibly resourceful adventure man who's still kind of down on his luck. As awesome as this scene is, he doesn't go home with the idol. The thing that he was supposed to get. He fails, ultimately. But it's a miracle that he escapes with his life anyways.
And, I mean, that's kind of foreshadowing for the end of the movie. He comes home empty-handed, but he escapes with his life,
That's a theme in the indie movies, really.
Yeah, in every movie.
When does he get... He gets one of the stones in Temple of Doom.
And then he brings it back.
Well, yeah, but he was never going to keep those for himself in Temple of Doom. But yeah, the whole thing is, so Indiana Jones, he's an archaeology professor, and he's at some college. We get the girl with the I love you written on her eyelids.
Yeah. Which, hey, pretty impressive for the 30s, because I don't know if they had ballpoint pens, so she had to use a fountain pen.
Okay, that's a fair point.
On her eyelids.
Fair point. And then he meets with Marcus Brody, Marcus Brody is the dean, the whatever he is. He's the head of the archaeology department. He's the head of the museum. Indy tells him about, the idol. He's like, I had it in my hand. I didn't get away with it. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we get one of the greatest exposition scenes of all time with these two government agent guys.
Yeah, these two G-men.
This is such a great scene because every character expands the knowledge of every other character. Like, obviously the government men are there to say that the Nazis are after this Ark and everything, but then Indy and Marcus are there to say this is what the Ark supposedly does. And they do get a little bit of a setup as, like, there's something about you can't look at it. That's actually something, one of the biggest problems of the movie is the whole ending, don't look at it, seems like it's a little bit out of nowhere. It's not really, it's sort of set up, but it's not really followed upon.
Yeah. Well, and even too, I like, this beautifully sets up Indy's relationship with Marion, because it's Abner Ravenwood, right? I think.
Yeah, they don't mention Marion, but they mention her father is Professor
Abner Ravenwood, I think.
Abner Ravenwood, who is his, like, directorial advisor, a dissertation advisor probably, and supposedly he hasn't been seen in months. He's missing.
I also like how Harrison Ford plays his excitement at the possibility of discovering the Ark of the Covenant, because he's like, Tanis, they're digging in Tanis? Oh my god, of course it must be in Tanis.
This is also really an important scene too, because it's like, obviously, and the movie doesn't, and they don't need to, but they don't explain who the Nazis are. We just know they're bad guys.
Yeah,
it's like, obviously.
But what everybody
this
by
movie
the 80s
does
has heard of the Nazis.
They do actually have to explain what the Ark is. Even if you know the Ten Commandments, you might not know exactly the Ark of the Covenant and what that means and how it's been lost and stuff. And so they do all that stuff. And of course, in terms of just from a story structure, there is, as you've pointed out before, historical basis to the Nazis being obsessed with biblical occult artifacts. Exactly,
all the occult stuff.
Yeah, there is some truth to that. I don't know how much, but there is some.
Yeah, there was like, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, there was like a weird secret society that Heinrich Himmler was head of called the Vril, and their symbol was the Black Sun, and I think the Black Sun was like a Masonic symbol at one point, but it was also like an ancient symbol. I don't remember if it was like Babylonian or Roman or something like that. This is kind of like, if you're going to set a movie about Nazis trying to steal mystical religious weapons, this is like the perfect time, because this is like the mid-30s. They are the most powerful.
Before the war.
Exactly, yeah. And they are the most powerful European nation.
For sure.
They have this new society based around Hitler and the idea of kind of like Germanic purity and Germanic manliness. And women are kind of going back to their roots of knitting and sewing and learning how to cook. And there's just like this whole weird thing going on in Germany at the time, where they're probably the most advanced European civilization, but they're also kind of hearkening back to some kind of mystical, forgotten, pagan time to tie their own roots to, but also to kind of steal power from. So in real life, you did have Hitler and the Nazis kind of globe-trotting, looking for these kind of mystical, mythical things. Whether or not they found them, we don't know. I know for a fact.
I think we do.
But it's true, though, right? No, we don't, because who knows what happened, right? But I mean, at one point they were looking for the spear that pierced Christ's side. You know what I mean? Like, so stuff famous, like that.
What's it, Longinus?
Yes, yeah.
It's all pseudo-biblical anyways, that a lot of that stuff. Like, is the Ark of the Covenant truly in the Bible? I genuinely don't know. That might all, because so much of this stuff is medieval legends. The Holy Grail is a medieval legend. The actual Grail isn't really in the Bible. It's like Jesus drinks something at some point,
He drinks something from his rough-hewn carpenter's cup, and then medieval scholars have taken that, they've called that vessel the Holy Grail.
Right.
And then as far as the Ark is concerned, I think, again, I'm not well versed enough in religious histories or mythologies to say whether or not the Ark was there at the beginning of Christianity, but certainly for the last 1,000 or 1,500 years, the Ark has been written about.
Right.
And then in terms of like Tanis, from what I know about Tanis in Egypt is, I think it was like a royal city that was used around the 21st or 22nd dynasty. It was never buried. Parts of it were buried by the sand, obviously, because it's a desert, just like the rest of Egypt. But the ruins were mostly out in the open for people to see for thousands and thousands of years. And there's no concrete evidence tying the Ark to Tanis whatsoever. So I don't know how they came up with that idea for the movie, but I mean, Egypt is a cool place. It's super old. You have the idea of the Jews building the pyramids and, so I mean, I can understand where they kind of put two and two together.
But yeah, anyways, Indy interestingly gets hired off screen to go find this, because it's not until Marcus goes to Indy's house that he says, like, they want you to go. And Indy's packing, of course. There's the close-up of when he tosses the gun into the suitcase. And he gets on the plane, and the first place he's going to go, because he knows Professor Ravenwood had this medallion that would be important for this. But he knows, okay, no one can find Professor Ravenwood, but he knows where his daughter is. So he gets aboard a plane, and there's a creepy Nazi guy following him. His costume supposedly is based on Himmler.
Yeah, makes sense.
One of the most ugly looking, disgusting, evil looking people. And I don't know if I've ever seen that actor in anything else. I don't know if I could take him seriously in any other kind of role. He just looks like an evil Nazi. It's like perfect.
I know.
And the way he talks too, it's like weird rhythm. He's got like that Peter Lorre kind of thing.
Yeah, he's got this kind of raspy yet mousy way of speaking.
We are not thirsty. That guy. This fucking guy. So Indy ends up in Nepal, and of course we do have a couple iconic things, at least to me, in this scene. Or one, him going to sleep by just pulling his fedora down a little bit over his eyes.
Yeah.
Then also the superimposed map of the travel. That's an Indiana Jones staple. That's always classic. But yeah, he ends up in Nepal, where Marion Ravenwood, your crush, Karen Allen.
Oh, she's beautiful.
She just owns a bar for some reason, and we see her, she's like out drinking these like hardy
Nepalese
men, including one guy that was a kid.
Looks kind of like a woman.
If that was a man or a woman, yeah.
Yeah.
Indy talks to her, talks about how he needs the medallion and stuff, of course, but we also established that these two previously had a relationship. Mm-hmm. Marion was apparently very, very young when this happened. She says, like, she doesn't have the medallion, but she knows where it is. But after Indy leaves, it's revealed that she actually does have it. Mm-hmm. But then the Nazi comes in. The Nazi, and with his Sherpa men, he's recruited. He's got local recruits here.
Do you think they carried him from the plane? Like, they carried him up the mountain? He's like, take me to
the yeah, maybe. Yeah, very, very possibly. At any rate, a fight breaks out. A shootout specifically, and the fire is running in the bar, and of course the fire ends up spreading. Indy comes back in and is fighting people. There's so many great moments in this scene. I love when he's being held down on the bar.
Yes.
With the trail of fire coming at him, and he just goes whiskey, and then she hands him a bottle of whiskey, and he smashes it over the guy's head.
Yeah,
so many great moments.
One of my favorite parts is when she's got a gun and she's hiding behind the bar, and all these bullets are ripping through the top of the bar. One of them goes through a keg on the bar, and she stops and leans back and drinks some of the whiskey pouring out, and then starts shooting people. We
also have a classic moment where Indy is unarmed and he's being held at gunpoint, and then you hear a gunshot, and Indy like flinches, like goes like he's been shot, but then it's revealed that guy was shot by Marion. Also, evil Nazi guy finds the medallion. He goes to grab it and he burns himself, so he runs outside. But of course it's revealed later it's burned onto his hand, so he still gets some of the information. He thinks he has all the information. They learn later that both sides are important, but that's still pretty neat.
Also, all the blood. First off, can we talk about just the effects? Like, the blood looks really good. All the blood in this movie looks really good. It's like that 80s thick, syrupy, dark red blood. Mm-hmm. But also, all like the punch and kick sound effects, those are all like hard
the sound effects
and thunky.
Are beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, and then even all the gun sound effects, they're all great. Mm-hmm.
Heavy on bass, all of it.
Yes, and that's what you want. You want it to feel like heavy and real, and it all sounds great.
Yes. Yeah, it's completely overdone, the punching specifically. You go out and you punch someone, it does not sound like that, but it's perfect for like this kind of movie.
It's almost like they recorded this sound by somebody just like slapping like half a dead cow hanging in a cold locker. You know what I mean? Like, that's how funky and meaty it sounds. You're not
too far off. Supposedly the sound was taking a baseball bat to a pile of like leather jackets.
No, I read really?
that. So you're not too far off. Cow was, unless they were alligator.
Yes,
you know. Yeah. The end of this fight scene, I guess the evil Nazi just sneaks away. He just He burns his hand and everything, and he's got the McAllister M like Joe Pesci. But anyways, Indy and Marion decide to work together. She reveals that she has the medallion. She picked it up like with a towel or something so that she didn't burn herself. And then where do they go? They go straight to Egypt, right?
Yeah.
And we get, of course, Sallah.
AKA Gimli.
The best character of the movie, maybe?
He's easily the best character. He's also the best character of The Last Crusade. Well, maybe Sean Connery is, but...
Salah's a lot of fun. First of all, I never knew a bunch of kids that save Indy from the bar. Those are all his kids? I didn't realize that. But yeah, Sallah, he's just this jovial excavator that Indy just knows because he just knows random people, just like how Marion is in Nepal.
Yeah, well, I don't understand, does he have, his own, excavation company that people hire? Because he's, rich. Because, Sallah has, a lot of money. He's in, a nice suit and tie. He's got all these fucking kids. He's got a big house.
He's got a different job in Last Crusade, doesn't he?
All I remember in Last Crusade, he's wearing a fez.
Yeah, here he wears the turban.
Yes, yeah, and a fedora occasionally.
Well, I'd say more of a Panama hat.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, probably is.
He's just a lot of fun. John Rhys Davies is just a weird, funny guy, and him just in this role is just a lot of fun. He apparently, and this as you can imagine, didn't get anywhere, but he did talk to Spielberg and Lucas about doing a Sallah offshoot, which would have been a disaster.
Fuck me.
But he's like, I think Sallah deserves his own movie. And they're like, I don't know about that. And then I think John Rhys Davies convinced himself that Sallah was the key to the series, because the first and the third movies were the ones that everyone loved, and a lot of people loved the second one, but it was not as well received when it came out.
Well, because it's different. It was a different.
It's different. It's very different. It's a lot darker. But then John Rhys Davies is like, hey, the reason it didn't do that well was Salah's not in it. And it's like, oh my god, he convinced himself that.
I do think John Rhys Davies is weird. I don't think he's really done anything super noteworthy other than Indiana Jones and Lord of the Rings.
It wouldn't be considered noteworthy to us, but he apparently got the role because they were actually looking at other actors. I think they were even looking at Omar Sharif, and they got John Rhys Davies. He had a big role in the miniseries Shogun, which came out a few years before Raiders, or maybe a year before Raiders, and that was huge. That was the biggest TV miniseries of the time, back when TV miniseries. Well, I guess now if it's an HBO miniseries, it could still be a big deal, but so that kind of put him on the map. He's also Macro in I, Claudius, so he did have this. Not that he was a star, but he had some acting credibility certainly around him.
He was making a name for himself, I see. Yeah, and
he
was. Omar Sharif in that role, I don't think would have done as well, because I think he's a bit more of a serious actor, whereas John Rhys Davies looks so jovial and friendly and warm, but he's also
he's like a Muslim Santa Claus. There's something about it. It's also another actor
from Wales.
Maybe I'm just flat out wrong about Omar Sharif, but I am reading here they wanted to get Danny DeVito. Sallah was originally supposed to be this tiny man. He's supposed to be 5'2", and Danny DeVito couldn't get out of his taxi commitment. So then Spielberg watched Shogun and is like, okay, John Rhys Davies, you can do it. And they basically said, make this a mix between Shogun, or whatever character you played in Shogun, and Sir John Falstaff of Henry IV, Part 1 and 2, and The Merry Wives of Windsor. And I haven't seen Shogun. You do see Falstaff here, or at least I do. The jovial nature. He's kind of cowardly, but also still kind of loyal. And I also like that he sings randomly Gilbert and Sullivan songs, so he's this anglicized Egyptian, I guess.
Yes, yeah, he's like somebody. Whenever I think of him, I always think of his character as somebody who misses the Empire and is very much at home, mostly because of the way he's dressed, but he's very much at home kind of as a foreigner, I guess. You know what I mean? He's trying to live that different life, this not toiling Egyptian man in the hot sun. He is somebody. He wants to be somebody.
Also, at least as a kid, I always bought the accent. I never doubted that this was just some Egyptian guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You buy him as a foreign guy.
Oh, of course. Well, because look at him. You know what I mean?
It's just a great role. The defining role for John Rhys Davies, of course. But yeah, so John Rhys Davies is kind of his partner. John Rhys Davies has a monkey. Or no, it's not really his monkey. They just, like, the monkey kind of takes to Karen Allen.
Yes.
Marion, and it turns out the monkey's a spy, but the monkey also ends up killing itself because it eats a poison date that was meant for Indy and or Marion. Sawa is the one that points that out. So Sawa is also incredibly competent. We have a fun action scene here where Marion, she hides as Indy is fighting just a bunch of, and I love it. Like, he's just fighting random people. Like, these guys aren't Nazis. These are just Egyptian guys with swords. Like, it doesn't really...
It's funny, because, like, when they get there, the monkey, he has, like, a handler who has an eye patch.
Yes, the spy guy.
And as soon as they get there, the monkey and the handler go to the Nazis who are in Egypt. And this is all in Cairo, I guess, we should point out. And he comes and reports that Indiana Jones is here with Marion. So then the Nazis just round up their Egyptian street toughs that they've got on the dole or something. And they go out and attack Indiana Jones.
Marion's hiding in one of those wicker baskets. And the bad guys take it, and then in one of my favorite shots in movie history, Indy's chasing after them, and he turns the corner, and they get like an emotional close-up of him, and then the camera pulls out and goes to like an overhead, and it's just 40 of those exact. Maybe it's 100. It's so many of those exact same baskets, and I love that Indy just goes around and he tips all of them over, and they're all just carrying clothes.
Yeah.
There is a very NPC quality about, like, all the random Egyptian people. No one punches them in the face for just fucking up their entire laundry. No one does anything.
Throwing their clean laundry on the floor.
There's even a moment later where, like, they're all, like, celebrating when the Nazis are foiled, and it's like, they even know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
I love these guys. But of course, this scene, I guess it's sort of a bait and switch because Indy shoots at a driver, the truck crashes and blows up, and this is the truck that we saw Raven get placed into, or Ravenwood, Marion. So he thinks Marion's dead. Obviously, later on it's revealed she's not, but he's just kind of drinking sad in the bar with the monkey. And then that's when we get Belloc, I think, or do we get Belloc earlier than that?
First off, I want to say you skipped over one of our favorite parts. It's when he's running to find Marion and he's fighting off all those Egyptians, and the guy with the sword comes in, and he just whips his pistol out and shoots him. The guy drops dead. And I'm sure we've spoken about this before.
That's a great NPC moment too, because everyone just cheers. Like they just cheer murder. It's just murder in cold blood in the middle of the street, and everyone just goes nuts. It's great.
And now allegedly Harrison Ford had food poisoning or something, and he was just
that's not
constantly.
allegedly. I've read that a number of places. He was supposed to get the sword out of the guy's hands with the whip. He had tried that stunt a few times and it didn't quite work, and he was feeling horrifically sick too because whatever food they're eating in Tunisia, and he's just like and he just goes to Steve and he's just like, hey, what if I just shoot him? And they're like, oh yeah, that's great. And it's a great, like, again, this movie has a lot of moments. I would not call it an action comedy, but it has plenty of moments that are very, very funny. Sometimes with the editing, sometimes Last Crusade even more so than this one. The mixing of humor into these action scenes is so well done. It's a movie that's just so perfect at letting you know, like, this is just this is just for fun. There's nothing really all that serious about it. I mean, there is a tinge of, like, Jewish revenge in the movie, which I did not pick up on until I was an adult. It took me a long time. I mean, obviously, it's like the Nazis are the villains, but it took me a long time to realize that the whole kind of Ark of the Covenant, there is like an angle of the Jews getting revenge on the Nazis for the Holocaust, even though, well, the Holocaust was going on at this time, but, like, it's not a part of the movie or anything. Like, there is that. Mm-hmm. That's, like, the only serious idea going on in this movie. This is not a movie about ideas.
No. This is a movie about globe-trotting adventure and shoot-em-ups and fun.
Yeah, and sometimes those are the best action movies. Dirty Harry, I'll always talk about Dirty Harry is one of my favorite action movies, largely on the strength of its themes. Mm-hmm. That is a movie about the debate over, is there a scenario in which the world is actually a better place if police act outside the law? That's what that movie's all about. Die Hard, not really about anything. You're right. It's just a very well executed action scene.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
more in the Die Hard realm where it's not deep, but it's so well done and it's so well. Obviously, the music, even the music in all of this Egyptian street fight stuff, is just like very fun.
Mm-hmm.
But the music, the stunts, we haven't really talked about the stunts yet, but the truck scene is maybe my favorite action sequence in any movie ever.
I mean, we're going to get here eventually, but I'll tell you, one of my favorite action scenes in any movie is the plane fight.
Yeah, which is right before.
Yes.
That's like 15 straight minutes of action movie gold. Those two scenes back to back are unbelievable. I happen to prefer the truck, but...
And at that point, there's only like 25 minutes left of the movie, and you get like 15
the
minutes
momentum
of
is just I don't know if there's ever been an action film that has more momentum than Raiders does in those 20 minutes or so. It's just unbelievable. Like you cannot not be on the edge of your seat. But yeah, so we get the reintroduction of Belloc, and Belloc, like all Frenchmen, is a failure and a traitor, and he's working with the Nazis now, and he almost has Indy killed in the bar, and then Salah's kids save him. And so Belloc is the archaeologist that the Nazis have gotten. Again, this is not a film about ideas, but there's a Vichy France kind of thing going on here. Obviously, this is before World War II and before the German occupation of France. But yeah, Belloc, they're doing their thing. They're analyzing the markings on that evil Nazi guy. Why am I saying evil Nazi? Isn't that redundant? On that guy's hand. But Indy, with the actual medallion, he and Salah go to like some wise old
Egyptian guy.
Yeah, some wise old guy, and he translates something, and they're able to figure out, and I love the reaction, they're digging in the wrong place. They both say it like together. And they go, and Indy enters this little underground thing where he holds up the staff. Well, what it was is there was something on the medallion about the length of the staff, and so that they had the Nazis had the incorrect length. Mm-hmm. Which is perhaps commentary on Hitler's micropenis. So in a really great scene with, again, fantastic music, that mysterious kind of metaphysical John Williams music coming in, with it's kind of like the Ark theme, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
As the sun shines through the medallion and it illuminates this like model. And this is another thing I want to say. So obviously we mentioned Indiana Jones is inspired by old serials. And for those that don't know, serials were just like short films that used to play before a movie, and there'd be 10 parts of them. And so you see a movie one week, you're supposed to come back the next week. It was basically television before television. So Indy's inspired by those things, down to the look, down to the style of adventure. None of us have seen those things.
No.
I'll tell you one thing that we have seen, and this is what elevates this film, is Lawrence of Arabia. Mm-hmm. This movie, it takes the structure and kind of the style from those old serials. It takes the visuals from Lawrence of Arabia.
It does.
This is very much a film, and Lawrence of Arabia is one of the most beautiful films ever made, of course, but obviously anything shot in a desert, you're going to get some comparisons. But the cinematographer, Douglas Slocum, he's a British guy. He did not work on Lawrence of Arabia. Made his name for himself kind of in the Ealing comedies, like the 40s and the 50s. Those are like some Alec Guinness movies.
Okay.
Not necessarily the type of person that you would think to shoot a movie like this, but obviously Spielberg saw something in him. And yeah, I think the direction was make this look like Lawrence of Arabia, make this look like an old Hollywood epic as much as possible. You have so many of those shots of Indy when he's like walking around, kind of the silhouette of him as people are digging. That is straight out of Lawrence of Arabia. Everything here with the sun illuminating on the models.
Yeah, and also when they do kind of eventually start digging in the correct spot for the Ark, you see these pickaxe and the diggers illuminated by the setting sun.
Yes.
Dust and sand flying in the air, and it is making archaeology and the desert look romantic. It is the spirit of adventure on screen, really.
Also, not necessarily that this would have inspired the movie, but if there has been a real-life Indiana Jones, T. Lawrence is my nominee, right?
Yeah, he was a very Indiana Jones-y character, minus the digging.
Well, yeah, but he had that kind of the educated background, but was able to communicate with people from all sorts of different, all sorts of different cultures, and yeah, he was an adventure man in his own right.
Mm-hmm. You could say something similar about archaeologists from the early 1900s and late 1800s, who are going to these middle of nowhere places, like 5 days camel ride from Cairo, and they're rediscovering these ruins, and they're speaking various languages to these locals, and they're in Nubia and speaking to these people here and finding pyramids. We don't really know about them. And I don't know any of their names except for, who was it, Howard Carter that discovered Tutankhamun's tomb? Indiana Jones is the quintessential archaeologist. Everybody that came before in history is kind of represented on screen here.
He is, and then a lot of people will point out he's a terrible archaeologist because
absolutely
he's a Tomb Raider, but also, like, is that not the most historically accurate version of an archaeologist, though? I mean,
100%.
Obviously now we know we don't want archaeologists doing that, but we have centuries of people just stealing shit from Greece and Turkey and Egypt, and that's how archaeology came to be, basically. That's how it became a field. Like, it was something to profit off of. So back to the movie, we're at the point now where they're unveiling or digging up the Well of Souls. This is the area where the Ark is kept. It's underground. Indy discovers that Marion is still alive, but she's captive and he can't get her out because he's busy doing other crap. But he does kiss her. I love how he lowers her mouth guard thing enough to kiss her, but then he puts it back on. Inside this Well of Souls, of course, are snakes. Mm-hmm. Indy, of course, the setup, he doesn't like snakes. But he goes down there, he has a close encounter with a cobra of some kind.
An asp, I think.
Jim, we've gone over this. Asp is not a species. Asp is just like a term for like a collection of snakes.
You're probably right.
I know I'm right.
Oh, it's the Egyptian cobra, you're right.
Now, in your defense, Salah does have the line, asps, very dangerous. Anyways, Salah eventually goes down there, and they both lift the Ark up, and they get the Ark out of there. But then, Belloc and the Nazis discover what they're doing, and they throw Marion down there. Salah's back up, so it's just Marion and Indy. And they're trapped down there with a bunch of snakes. I gotta be honest, this was never one of my favorite sequences of the film. There's some fun stuff where she's like dress is like kind of caught on the big like Anubis statue or whatever, and where they stumble upon the room where there's just like 100 mummies in there, and I love that they use a scream sound effect as part of the soundtrack.
Yes, yeah.
This is never my favorite stuff. They eventually find their way out. And that's where we get to the plane. And Jim has already said this is his favorite scene. This scene is incredible. We get like a German strongman guy who, again, I still don't know how it's not Mel Gibson's boss from Mad Max. I still don't know how it's not that guy. It looks exactly like him.
It does.
We get an awesome fight where Indy truly gets his ass handed to him.
There's a great shot on rewatching this where the German guy punches Indiana Jones right in the face, and his legs wobble, and then he falls.
Yes,
down.
He buckles. Yeah, it's great. But like Indy fights dirty. He bites him at one point. He throws sand in his eye. He's absolutely outmatched.
Yeah.
And then he ends up winning, of course, kind of by luck. Marion's inside the plane at this point, but the plane is on and is kind of just going in circles, but the propeller is going, and he gets chopped up by the propellers, the big bad guy. And
what a way to go. Poor guy.
What a way to go. Always... Yeah, we don't see much. They keep it PG, but that was always just disgusting and terrifying to me as a kid, but awesome also.
Yeah, well, and I also like that when he does get chopped up, they spray blood on the cockpit where Marion is, and then they spray blood all over the Nazi insignia on the tail of the plane.
Classic shot, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Indy gets Marion out of there, he shoots open the cockpit, and meanwhile there's an explosion because the gas has been spilling and stuff.
Yeah, well, she blew up a truck and shot
That's what
barrels.
alerts Belloc, and there's like some other German officer. There's basically three main bad guys here. There's Belloc, there's the evil Nazi George Costanza guy, And then there's this, like, officer guy.
Who's quite good at his job, and, like, he is. Like, he's...
Yeah,
out
he
of the three
seems
of them,
competent.
he's not the fuck up.
Yeah, Belloc is just some guy. He's an academic who takes shortcuts, but he's just a guy. The Nazi Judge Costanza clearly is like an SS. Like he clearly enjoys torturing people. He's clearly like a sadist, even though he doesn't do that much in the movie.
Yeah.
You can just tell, like, this guy is just awful. There's also that scene
With the coat hanger.
Yes, the coat hanger. I've still to this day never seen a coat hanger that looks anything like that.
Looks like nunchucks.
Yeah, it looks like nunchucks. Yes.
I love it. That might be one of the greatest fake outs in movie history.
Yeah. But then we get our truck scene, and the music that kicks in when this truck scene starts is amazing. But Gasawa informs Indy that I love it. It's almost like a video game cutscene. He's just like,
Yes.
It's just 5 seconds. They've loaded the Ark onto a truck, and that's just like it. And we're off from there. And Indy's chasing the trucks down. He's initially on horseback, I believe, right?
Yep.
Is it only one truck and there's a couple of cars?
Well, there's a couple
where,
of
like, our
cars, there's
senior
a couple of trucks.
Nazis are. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
couple trucks.
So they're taking the Ark to Cairo because Indiana Jones
Yes.
blew up the plane. Well, Marion blew up the plane that they were going to load the Ark on to fly back to Berlin. So now they got to take it to Cairo to fly it out, and they've got like a bunch of army troop trucks, and one of them has the Ark in it, and a bunch of staff cars. Well, a couple staff cars. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he eventually makes his way onto one of the troop trucks.
Yeah, and he's throwing people off. People die in horrific ways, falling off
getting
cliffs
run
and stuff
over.
like that. There's also civilian fodder, civilian casualties where they run into the ladders of people on some kind of, like, that's always classic. Another great moment of, like, kind of mixing the comedy in with the action where Indy is, like, wrestling for the steering wheel with some Nazi guy, and then some Egyptian guy gets, like, thrown into the windshield, and he just, like, has a look of shock. And then he kind of gets, like, thrown wide of the truck, and then Indy kind of looks at the Nazi and just kind of laughs before punching him and throwing him out the truck. There's just there's so many great moments in this movie, in this scene specifically. This also has some of the most impressive stunt work because you do get him going under the truck. In some shots, you can tell the truck is not going fast. I don't care. It's awesome.
Yeah, while the dust is flying up.
My favorite part of this scene is actually the one Nazi who's in the back of the truck when he realizes something's going wrong. And he's climbing on top of the truck to get at Indy, and his hat blows away, and it's revealed he's just like some bald guy. Like, he's just like some middle-aged guy. I love it. And now, what I love about this scene is if the Nazis win, and I guess technically they kind of win. I mean, they get the Ark, but like, if the Nazis win, this guy is Indiana Jones. This guy is the hero for them, you know?
Yes,
He
yeah.
goes through, like, almost as impressive, like, ordeals as Indy does. Like, when he actually gets up there and he's fighting him. He puts up a genuinely great fight. He throws Indy through the windshield.
Yeah.
Like, this guy, if everything goes right, this guy is a national hero.
Yeah, and the only reason he dies is because he throws Indy through the windshield onto the grills of the truck, essentially. He's holding onto the
he's
grill.
going to ram him into Belloc's car, the Mercedes-Benz in front.
Yeah, but because he's bent he's bent a lot of the spokes on the grill or whatever you want to call them. And then when he eventually gets thrown out,
Yes.
everything just breaks off and he gets run over.
Yeah, he's almost ready to do the exact same thing Indy just did, but the things give way. And then he gets run over horribly, and he gets like the worst death.
And it's a terrible shot of him getting run over with like his arms
Yeah.
going up and everything, and you're like, oh my god.
This scene is so awesome, and when Indy actually gets back into the cab and he starts bashing that guy's head against the dashboard, it is so thrilling. It is so triumphant. This scene is just so good.
Oh, it is.
Indy, obviously, with the truck with the Ark, pulls into Cairo, hides it in this town of NPCs that are all on Salah's side. And then I love when the Nazis pull in, they're like looking for it and they can't find it. And then it's just a bunch of people selling them, like trying to sell them like watermelons or whatever.
Yeah, and they're throwing them on the ground.
Yeah, that one Nazi officer just takes one and throws it on the ground. And then as they're driving off, that's when everyone like cheers. Yeah, just great stuff. And then this is our final Sala scene. Sala loads them onto their ship. They're on like a... It's not a military ship. It's just like a ship.
Yeah, it's like a merchant ship or something.
Indy, who got shot during that truck scene, there's a little bit of a sensual healing scene on the ship. But of course, Sala also gets a kiss. And that's when he starts singing Pinafore. But
I love him.
That's the last we see of Sala in this movie. So they're on the ship, but eventually it gets boarded by Nazis. And Indy hides and is able to get on. It's never really made clear. I guess he swims his way over to the U-boat. I have my doubts about that. Yeah. But I love everyone cheering as they see him running on top of the U-boat.
I know, it's so cool. It's so cool.
And then, so the U-boat pulls into some harbor on some island, like you were saying, like Crete, some kind of Mediterranean island. Appears to be uninhabited. And Indy beats a guy up, takes his Nazi uniform, but it doesn't quite fit. It's too tight on him. Yeah. And then some other guy is like barking German orders at him, and then he just beats that guy up and takes his hat. And he gets a bazooka at some point, and he's got it pointed at everybody. And he says he's willing to shoot everyone, even Marion.
They're going to open the Ark, essentially. They're not going to open it in Germany. They're not going to ship it back.
Yeah, there's a line like, we need to open it now, otherwise, because we need to know it's intact before we take it home. But the Fuhrer can't see, if it's a failure, it can't be a failure in front of the Fuhrer.
Yeah.
I don't know where the wizard costume comes from.
No, exactly, right? But also, too, like, they're doing this, like, procession with, like, Nazi banners, which is pretty cool, through this, like, mountain path.
Very, very Triumph of the Will.
Yes. Yeah, eventually, Indiana Jones somehow gets a bazooka, and he's got it aimed at everybody, and Belloc kind of talks him down from blowing the Ark up, because Indiana Jones is like, I'm gonna kill you all and blow the Ark up, I don't care. You can't be doing this. And Belloc kind of talks him off a ledge. This is also the famous scene where the actor who plays Belloc eats a fly. You know, like when he's talking to him and like the fly crawls into his mouth.
I've never known that. No, I did not. I'm not familiar with that.
Go back and watch it. A fly crawls into his mouth as he's speaking. And he just keeps on going. What a trooper.
Who is that guy, by the way? I always
no
thought,
idea.
So when I first saw Close Encounters, I had seen Indiana Jones who knows how many friggin' times. And I first saw Close Encounters, there's this French guy. And he kind of looks like Belloc, and I always assumed that was Belloc, but that turns out that's Francois Truffaut, which is like a huge director flex of Spielberg. It's like, this is my second big movie ever. I'm just going to cast the most famous international director as in an acting part, like the only acting part of his career. Paul Freeman.
Yeah, he's an English
He's
actor.
not even French. He's English. Okay. Yeah, who the hell? Oh, he's on Falcon Crest. Okay. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie.
Wow.
He's in Hot Fuzz? Who's he in Hot Fuzz?
Oh, is he, I recognize his face.
Oh, he's the priest.
That's it. You're right.
I could kind of see that now. Okay.
Yeah, well, he's great. And he ate a fly. But anyways.
Okay, good for him.
But yeah, the Nazis just go up and kind of capture Indiana Jones and take him to their Ark lair.
And this is, he says something, so he and Marion are tied up, and he does say something to Marion, don't look at it. Whatever happens, keep your eyes closed. The Nazis open the Ark, and we get ghostly spirits flying around, and it's initially very beautiful. But then they end up looking like monsters, and everyone's attacked. We get shot through the cameras, like the camera, something reflects off the cameras and just blows through all the random Nazi soldiers hearts.
Yeah, well, it's it's lightning coming out of the Ark, right? Because that was at the beginning when they were talking to the G-men.
Yeah, there is something because they're asking about that artwork, and it's what is that coming out of the? And
they're like, I don't know, the power of God.
And he's like, it's the power of God, lightning. Who knows? No one knows. But those guys get it easy, because the main three villains get some of the most horrific deaths in movie history, where their faces melt away. It is... Yeah. Do all the faces explode? At least someone's face explodes, but we see a lot of melting, and it's just disgusting.
I forget, it's not the Nazi guy. His melts, right? Does Belloc's explode?
I think maybe they all melt and then explode. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't remember.
The tape, but it's just incredible. And then Indy and Marion are the only ones left alive. They somehow get out of their restraints, and I guess they bring the Ark back where it's being held by top men. And we see that it's just being put in a warehouse of wonders in somewhere in Washington, D.C. It's an endless, a classic matte painting at the end. It's like an endless warehouse of who knows how many mysterious religious artifacts and metaphysical objects are in there.
Well, and I like that the Ark makes a reappearance in the fourth Indiana Jones movie.
That's right, it does, yeah. It also kind of makes a reappearance in Last Crusade. I mean, not really, but like when he's in the tunnels, like with the rats, they're looking at like old artwork. Mm-hmm. Alice and Duty's like, and what's that there? And he's like, it's the Ark of the Covenant. And she's like, oh, are you sure? And he's like, pretty ssure.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jim, that is Raiders of the Lost Ark. What do you think of this fine film?
Well, it's easily one of the best movies ever made. I don't really think there's anything wrong with it. It's a movie that influenced my life and my journey in life deeply.
Mm-hmm. Well, you studied archaeology to some extent.
Yeah. Yeah, it awakened a love of history for me, this movie.
It awakened your love of Karen Allen, apparently.
Yeah, and Harrison Ford. But yeah, it's just a fantastic movie. I don't think you can say anything really negative about the movie. I think the pacing's pretty spot on. There's literally nothing negative I can say about this movie. I've never met somebody who likes or who dislikes Indiana Jones, or at least the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, that's it. It's perfect. This might be the most perfect movie we've ever covered on this podcast. It's
definitely up there. There are 4 incredible action scenes in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There might be more. Maybe there's 5. There's 5, now that I think of it. You get the escape from the temple.
Yeah.
With the boulder, with the booby traps, awesome stuff. Nepalese bar.
Yeah.
So many great moments, so many great little moments in there. I love the lighting of that whole scene. It's just shot really
All the bottles on the shelf are like red and yellow. Like it just looks exotic and interesting.
I love the stuff in the streets of Cairo where he's chasing after Marion. That's probably the worst of them, but it's still very good. There's still a lot of good stuff in there. Obviously, the iconic moment of the shooting the swordsman.
Yeah.
Fist fight with big shirtless guy. Incredible. One of the great movie fight scenes. And then we get truck scene, which is honestly my pick for favorite action scene of all time. All of those scenes are great. And it's not like the movie has nothing to offer outside of those scenes either. Like, the movie is just entertaining. You mentioned the pacing. There's a couple scenes that I don't really... Yeah, well, I was going to say there's a couple scenes I don't really care that much for that are non-action scenes, but I'm starting to walk that back now. I mean, I love the scene when he's discovering the location, with the sun shining through the medallion. That scene's awesome. Very Lawrence of Arabia.
The scene with Karen Allen and, what's-his-face, Belloc, where she's pretending to be...
Where they're drinking?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, where she's trying to escape, but...
Yeah, it doesn't really forward the story in any way, but that's still a great scene of these two people. She's playing a game and he's trying to get laid.
Yeah, it's just really great. I think if there are weaknesses, and obviously I love this movie too. I don't want to be incredibly negative, but I did mention I think they could have done more to reinforce the don't look at the Ark thing, because it does kind of seem like it's coming out of nowhere.
That's true. I will give you that.
I think I would have liked more of the evil, sadistic SS Nazi. I feel like that character deserves more. I think maybe get rid of the competent Nazi, the one with the officer's uniform. Get rid of him and just give this guy more to do, because he's terrifying.
Well, yeah. The problem is, though, I mean, after he burns his hand, he just kind of becomes a bit of a joke. And
a little bit, yeah.
And even after the coat hanger scene, and the problem.
And I think that's a mistake, because I think he's the most threatening of the villains.
Yes, I agree with that.
Because Belloc isn't threatening, he just has resources.
No, exactly. So you need somebody to play that confident, well-rounded Nazi.
Now they get around that, obviously, because they have the muscle for Indy to fight, and they have, again, my favorite character in the movie, even more than Sala, is the bald Jimmy Buffett Nazi who's climbing on the truck. That guy's awesome. That guy, there's a 2-minute sequence where he is the star of the movie, and it's maybe the best 2 minutes of the movie. He's really good. He's really awesome. He's really cool. Tell you what, I would like to be good friends with Harrison Ford because he's just like the coolest guy ever in this movie.
Yeah, and in real life.
It's not a depthful performance, but he's just like so perfectly cast.
Mm-hmm.
He does communicate a lot through his eyes of that confidence, that cleverness. He is able to perform the humorous moments very, very well.
Yes, very well.
And he's very believable in a fight, too. And then, I mean, obviously, we talked about the biggest fight of the movie. He gets his ass handed to him. But, like, all the other random moments when he's just beating up random Egyptian guys in the street, like, it's all very believable. Or in the Nepalese bar.
Yeah. This movie does action in such an exciting way because it's not just about the action. Like, there's other little things going on in the scene, like all these little jokes and stuff. You feel the real stakes behind these action scenes. You know, especially with, like, Karen Allen in the plane, trying to get the Ark back.
Well, and you mentioned stakes. Like, is there a better movie villain than Nazis?
No.
There isn't. There can't be. It's like, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that more movies aren't set in, like, the 30s or 40s, you know, to have Nazis as the villains, because they're the perfect villain.
I think Indiana Jones almost ruined it for other people, because it's just like, you're just going to be compared to Indiana Jones if you fight Nazis.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So is this your favorite Indiana Jones movie? Because a lot of people say, and you're such a Connery fan, I wouldn't be surprised if you said Last Crusade. Last Crusade for me is close, but I do prefer Raiders. But they're both outstanding films.
Yeah, I think I have to give it to Raiders just because... You know, honestly, I don't really know. I think the action might be better than The Last Crusade, but also, I was going to say, like, I like the idea of finding the Ark of the Covenant more than the Holy Grail, but I think that's kind of a toss-up for me. I like both stories. I just like both movies, but I think Raiders is just a better movie, and I can't really put my finger on why I think that right now. I'd have to watch it.
Well, Jim, you chose wisely.
Shut up.
Because I agree with you. I was initially going to accuse you of not being penitent or something, but yeah. No, I think this movie's amazing. You know, I'm not really a Temple of Doom fan. I understand that film has... I love I think Temple of Doom probably has the best last act of those three, but I think it's kind of a rough arrival at that last act. I don't really love a lot of the stuff earlier in that movie.
Well, you know what, like, the biggest problem with Temple of Doom is that the stakes are almost, like, too real. Like, it's not fun.
Child slavery.
Yes, slavery is not fun or funny. You know?
Raiders and Last Crusade, it's Nazis, and there's no real mention of the Holocaust, but the Holocaust is obviously around. It's with the Nazis. So obviously that's very real too. But the difference is that's in the past.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, so it is a little different. It's like we can have... It's more fun. Weirdly, Nazis are more fun than Indian slaveholders. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Who would have thought?
I'm agreeing with you. It might sound like I'm disagreeing with you.
No, it's hilarious. Yeah, and again, the Nazis are just perfect villains.
Of course. And then another thing, too, I know we mentioned this earlier, but the cinematography, the Douglas Slocum cinematography, the editing, the directing, you're taking something, the old serials of the 30s and 40s or whatever, these kind of schlocky, it's the equivalent of, like, comic books, like television. It's not really serious art, but taking that and seeing someone with, like, Spielberg with a vision of making it into art, and again, not necessarily giving it complicated themes, although there is a little bit of that Jewish revenge story. For the most part, just taking something old and just reinventing it with arguably the greatest director of all time behind it, taking inspiration from Lawrence of Arabia and all these artistic films. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Sergio Leone in there, you know, any desert photography, obviously, but, like, it's just so expertly done. It really is. It could not be executed significantly better.
No. The movie makes the world feel so wide and exotic. in a
I was
way
gonna say
that
worth
like
living in, but yeah.
okay. Yeah, but in a way that like modern globetrotting adventure movies don't. You know, and I don't know if it's because it's set in the 30s, so everything looks kind of like old-timey and out of place, or if it's because in modern movies when you have like characters like spies or whoever going to another country, they immediately speak the local language, or they have some kind of like spy interpreter waiting there for them, or whoever, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, they somehow made this guy going to Egypt feel like a totally different world. When he's in the jungle in South America at the beginning of the movie, you have all these natives, you know, these loincloth wearing natives. I don't know, so exotic, and that really is capturing kind of what you said, the heart of these serials that were so big in the 30s, because that is when the world was still so wide and there was so much left to be discovered, and it was about adventuring and flying planes across the world and discovering mountain ranges and stuff.
And archaeologists quite literally stealing shit from the Middle East and stuff like that. And no, I mean it happened. Like it's an outstanding film, one of the best we've ever covered. Jim, you want to get us started on John Carpenter's The Ward? Talk about a letdown.
Yeah, on one of the worst films we've ever covered.
I would say one of the most mediocre. I didn't feel an emotion watching this film. It's not awful.
No, I mean, it's not unwatchable, but it's just a shitty movie. As of right now, it's John Carpenter's last movie.
Which is still crazy, yeah.
He's like 78.
It was his first movie in almost 10 years. Ghosts of Mars, I think, was 2001. This is 2010.
See, I've never seen Ghosts of Mars.
I don't think I have either. I've avoided latter-day Carpenter because everyone says it's terrible. I've seen Vampires, and that was okay.
I saw the newest movie of his that I saw was In the Mouth of Madness.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's probably his last good movie. It's not a great movie. It's not as good as like The Thing or Big Trouble. It's not one of Carpenter's great movies, but it's a good one.
It's just sad to see that a man that was such a giant in the 70s and 80s comes out with this in 2010. You know, a man that kind of created the slasher genre with Halloween comes out with this.
It's debatable, yeah. Well, and it's also an interesting comparison with Spielberg. Because Spielberg, I don't think Spielberg's making as good a movies as he was in the early 80s with Raiders
like
and
that
E.T.,
fucking, what's it called, Disclosure Day?
Yeah, I haven't seen Disclosure Day, but like for the most part, Spielberg has still made good movies. He's still, like, West Side Story, one of his most recent movies, is very, very good. But the Spielbergs and the Scorseses, because Scorsese's continuing to make great movies too, those are rare. Mm-hmm. And I'll throw George Miller in there too. Not that George Miller is on the caliber of those kinds of filmmakers, but or Ridley Scott even. Like some of the Ridley Scott's relatively recent movies have gotten good reviews. Not all of them. Those guys are rare. Directors do lose it, and I think part of it is the filmmaking technology changes so much.
Yeah,
but it's interesting that would affect someone like Carpenter, who was always dealing with smaller budgets. Yeah. Now, I do think some of it is an issue of funding. Did you see all the logos in front of this movie? I didn't recognize a single one. I don't know what any of these things are. Some of them looked like fake, like AI generated. Like
honestly,
there's like
I didn't even
Accelerator Films. Like, what the fuck is that? That just looked like a Carpenter could not fund a movie in 2010 or in 2001 as easily as he could fund a movie in 1986 when he made Big Trouble in Little China. Some of that is because some of his best movies did not do well. The Thing flopped. Big Trouble did not do that great.
But both became cult classics.
Yeah, so obviously, like, people years later recognize those as being some of the best movies of their time period, but Spielberg has never had, or maybe because Spielberg's successes are so much greater than Carpenter's. Like, if Carpenter's most successful film is Halloween isn't E.T., Jaws, Jurassic Park, Raiders. It's not any of those. It's a great movie, but like...
Well, and as you said at the beginning of this, Spielberg himself created the summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
Carpenter has kind of been waning at this point for 20 years. You know?
Oh, 20s. Well, yeah, 1990. Yeah, I don't know. When did it start going downhill? Maybe Memoirs of an Invisible Man?
Yeah,
maybe you would go after In the Mouth of Madness. Memoirs of an Invisible Man, I think, is 92.
Okay.
It's sad, though. And especially, like, you look at someone that who's actually films we're going to be covering next episode, we're not going to be covering one of his better movies, but you look at someone like Wes Craven. Mm-hmm. Wes Craven made some really bad movies. He still managed to get a second life out of because Scream kind of revived him, right?
Yeah.
Carpenter never had his Scream. Mm-hmm. He never got to have that like comeback. Mm-hmm. And it's a shame because he's every bit as good, if not, he's probably a better filmmaker than Wes Craven. I personally kind of prefer Wes Craven. It just never happened for him. He just kind of faded away.
And it is a shame. I think the biggest name, I mean, like, I'm not including, so Amber Heard stars in it, pre-pooping on pillows.
Yeah, well, that's okay, yeah, well, listen, the Amber Heard thing's complicated. I will just say, I had the biggest crush on Amber Heard when I was younger.
Did you really? Okay.
I've also never liked Johnny Depp that much, so I was fully ready to take her side.
She might be pretty, but after you can't take.
She's not a good actress.
Seriously. No, she's terrible. But also, anybody who poops on a pillow is disgusting.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Come on. Anybody who has sex with anybody who has sex with Elon Musk is disgusting.
You know how half the country's Ed. You know how many kids he has? How many different mothers?
That's true. You're right. That's knocking a lot of women off of my list. Yeah, I think the biggest problem with this movie, genuinely, is the actors, is the talent. There's only a couple actors, I think, who are decent, and the one is, what's his fucking name? Richard Harris's son, who seems to be kind of phoning it in anyways.
Is that? I never realized that was okay. I see it now. I did not realize. I thought he was good as like threatening psychiatrist guy. Did you know? I'm just learning this now. One of the biggest stars in Hollywood is in this film. Sydney Sweeney plays young Alice.
No, I'm just seeing this now.
I didn't realize. I would have to go back and see that.
Are you serious?
That's interesting. I will say Danielle Panabaker, who plays Sarah. She's not great in this movie, but she was a decent scream queen of her era. She was one of the better scream queens of like the late 2000s, early 2010s. Friday the 13th remake, one of the Piranha movies, the Crazies remake. She's like a competent horror leading woman, and she's kind of underutilized in this movie.
Well, I was going to say, out of all the women, I would say I think she was the best actress out of all the women.
I think I would agree with that, yeah.
And I'm not including that like Nurse Ratched type nurse. And then there was that male orderly named Roy, who I thought was okay. But this is a silly and dumb movie.
Do you want to reverse engineer this one?
Well,
do you want to talk about the ending first? Or?
Yes, let's do that. Well, actually, before we talk about the ending, can I actually just bring up what I liked about this before we talk about the ending?
Sure, yeah.
What I liked about it was that I assume it was John Carpenter that picked this location, this setting, this mental hospital. It looked spooky. It had the correct look. The morgue area looked spooky. It all kind of fed into that unsettling feeling of being in an insane asylum.
The setting has promise.
Yes, yeah, and I love stories that are like, and especially like horror movies that are set in or around insane asylums, because I think those are some of the spookiest, creepiest places.
Well, and especially in the past too, because this is chiefly set in like the 60s, right? Where like psychiatric hospitals now, they're creepy in their own way, but it's different. Like back then,
they're not lobotomizing people anymore.
Yeah, when we can just zap someone whenever the hell we want. Cuckoo's Nest was written in the 60s.
Yes.
It was a different world back then, and not a lot of humanity, probably, those people being treated with. Now, I think in most insane asylums, they have more than 3 employees. I could be wrong. This is a very...
a couple more than 3. But yes,
not many. There were 3
there might have been 6
roles, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is and also most have more than like 5 people in them, but it's some of that's kind of explained by the twist ending though too, to be fair.
Yeah. Now, I guess let's just get to the twist ending. The twist is, so like Amber Heard gets hauled into this insane asylum because she's burning down a random house.
Seemingly random, although she had the address written on her hand.
Yes. And when she gets into this insane asylum, there's I think like 5 other women. And she is put into a room that was previously occupied by a woman named Tammy.
What'd you say your name was again?
Tammy.
Fuck you, Tammy.
who we see get killed by this entity in the beginning of the movie. But fast forward to the end, as soon as I heard the twist, I was like, oh fuck, they ripped off Shutter Island? But they didn't, because they both come out the same year.
Yeah, it's around the same time, yeah. But this is a significantly worse handled version of Shutter Island, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes, very
there's similarities for sure.
But yeah, so Amber Heard, there's this ghost that's been going around named Alice, and it's been killing all the women in the asylum. But it turns out that Amber Heard, whose name is Kristen in the movie, she is actually Alice, and all of these women that she's in the asylum with are figments of her imagination.
They're all different
personalities. Or they're split
personalities.
That's it.
Now, the reason I wanted to reverse engineer this is because she discovers this late in the film. The doctor who's been suspicious the entire time, played by Jared Harris, who's, as you pointed out, Richard Harris's son. So Kristen doesn't exist, right? Alice Alice is the real person, right?
Yes, none of those women exist. Alice.
So Kristen is just another version of Alice. Emily is a different version. Sarah, Zoe, etc. Is it bad that these women are being killed off? Isn't it good?
Yeah, so it is good.
That confused me. After I was done watching the movie, I'm like, this is essentially a film where, like, the stakes are there's this, like, ghost in the asylum killing people off one by one. People are disappearing. We never hear from them again. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we learn they're not really real. And if we're killing them off, because there's this whole, like, he does say, like, our methods were working until you burned down that house and lost all your memories, but our methods were working. One of the methods earlier we see is they take Iris and they put her under hypnosis, and then she's taken by the ghost and killed. And it's like, okay, if we're killing off one of the personalities, isn't that a good thing? Aren't we getting closer to the actual Alice?
Yeah, so that's what I don't understand. Oh, and then also, like, so she's been in the sanatorium for, like, 10, 15 years, God knows how long. When she burned down the house, she was a kid.
Yes.
And then that's when they dragged her in. And that's the house. So also, every time Amber Heard gets, like, knocked out or falls asleep or loses consciousness in the movie, she has visions of, like, this young girl, a Sydney Sweeney, chained up in the basement of a house. And we eventually come to learn that she's, like, raped by this guy in the basement of this house. And it turns out she'd been raped for weeks. Like, she was missing for weeks or months or something. So I would assume that it is a good thing that these split personalities are being killed off, but
the film treats it as if it's bad, because it has to, because for the twist to work, you have to think these people are actually dying, obviously.
Yes.
At the end of the movie, I was left thinking, like, kind of like, okay, so what?
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, there was a line in the movie that was dropped kind of early on where one of the girls says to her, like, oh, the doctor's a really nice guy, apparently. He's trying a new method, like an experimental method. And then I thought, like, what's the experimental method? All these fucking women are just sitting around hanging out. what's happening?
Well, the experimental method is, I don't know. Yeah,
making a woman believe
music
that.
At one point?
Yeah, well, and dance, and the power goes out. I don't know. The problem is, like, the movie. You watch this whole movie and you think, like, nothing's explained very well. The characters aren't really fleshed out. When characters disappear...
This movie does, because of the twist, it does get some excuses, though.
Yeah. But
it doesn't make it satisfying.
No.
But that does make sense that the characters aren't really fleshed out.
Yeah, because
they're not real.
But the problem is, the whole fucking time that you're watching this shitty movie, you're like, why is this movie so shitty? Why did John Carpenter make such a shitty movie?
All right, I'm also going to mention something. This is the tamest fucking R-rated movie I've ever seen.
Oh, yes.
Listen, we've got all women ward in an insane asylum, all young, attractive women. We get a shower scene where we don't see anything. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just pointing it out because we have to point it out. But the actual moments of violence are so tame. We do get a stabbing, like, near the eye.
Under the eye,
then it, like, almost
lobotomy. Right.
Almost like immediately cuts away, and then they just take the scalpel out, and it's just like covered in blood, and it's like, this is so lame.
Yeah.
And you got Greg Nicotero doing the special effects. He I believe he designed the Alice Tammy ghost, whatever it is,
which doesn't look really good.
It looks okay. It's very generic.
Yeah. It looks like
it's
a zombie
generic
ghost.
Conjuring ghost.
Yeah.
It hurts, like, when we see it in, like, full body, it doesn't look good. Like, when you see it, like, pushing Iris down the hall,
Yeah.
it's like, ugh. You know, like, this is something that needs to be in the shadows and in the corner. And
Yeah, and even when it slices the throat of Emily, doesn't it slice Emily's throat? Like, that was the goriest part of the movie that wasn't really that bad. But, like, the ghost does look silly. And again, I think, like, the biggest problem with this movie is you're watching it and lots of things don't make sense. You're like, well, what can this ghost do? Because it's outside of the door, now it's inside. And it's strangling somebody or it's killing somebody. It's at one end of the hallway, now it's teleported to the other end, you know? You're right. Like, when you get this twist, it doesn't make the movie any better. You're
right.
Like,
if you have a movie that's built around a twist ending, The Sixth Sense, Planet of the Apes, there's two possibilities. The twist ending can make everything that we've seen make more sense, or can make everything we've seen make less sense. There is no doubt in my mind that this is the latter. This does not make us recontextualize anything in a way that makes it more interesting.
No.
And that's why I feel like we needed to lead with the ending, because it kind of... I don't want to say it ruined the movie, because... I mean, one, it wasn't a strong movie, but also, like, if you don't have that twist and it is just, like, a ghost in the ward, like, that's not a special movie either. The movie needs something else.
Yeah.
But just this wasn't the right answer, though. I don't know.
No, and though Amber Heard is beautiful, and this is supposed to take place in the 60s, she didn't feel 60s. Like, nothing in the movie...
She didn't, but that's...
But also nothing in the movie felt 60s. And you're like, John,
no.
You were fucking alive in the 60s.
Yeah, you were smoking 2 packs a day in the 60s.
And you're still smoking 2 packs a day. Make it look like
I think
the
he's
60s.
up to 3 or 4 now, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't quite agree 100%. It feels like an old-timey insane asylum. It does not feel like a modern
of course.
mental hospital. And then you get the Nurse Ratched character, but that's probably it. That really feels like that. And then other than, obviously, we have electroshock therapy and stuff like that. But, like, yeah, I agree with you with it. Amber Heard, she does not have a period look to her.
No, well, because then you think about something like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. All the women that
Also
Tarantino
starring
cast.
Sydney Sweeney.
Yes. But all the women that Tarantino cast, they were all, like... They looked period. Their clothing, the dirt on their faces or their feet. You know, like they looked like
Amber
they
Heard's
were alive.
jeans in this movie,
they're like bright blue Levi's.
you gotta fade those or something. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a very minor complaint given all the other shit to complain about in this movie. But
Yeah,
yes.
Also another minor complaint that really pissed me off. When Amber Heard first comes into the asylum, she gets led into her room. And the nurse pulls back the comforter. Amber Heard just lays on top of the top sheet. And then the nurse throws the comforter on her. And I'm just like, why didn't you pick up the sheet?
Would you want her shitting on the pillow instead? What would you want?
No, but it's like, Amber, you sleep in beds. You know how people use a fucking bed. Lift up that top sheet and slide between that and the sheet on your mattress. That's how beds work.
Yeah, maybe it's hot.
I was so annoyed by it. I was just like, why couldn't you have reshot that? And just
Well,
be
she
like, hey,
wakes
Amber,
up on the floor.
Why wouldn't they just be like, hey, Amber, can you climb into the bed like a normal person, please? Thank you. But yeah, I don't know. This movie is it was just sad. It was just sad to watch. It wasn't very interesting. It wasn't very entertaining. One of my biggest problems with it was the use of these cheapo jump scares.
Yeah, you are, between the two of us, you are really the anti-jump scare one.
Well, because it's cheap. It works once.
It can be. It can be very cheap. Now you can build up to a good jump scare. I agree that jump scares in this movie aren't done very well. They're also
especially
very,
the one
very
at the end,
telegraphed by the music. Well, the end, sure. Yeah, that's just how every horror movie ended for a good 5-year period, I think. But yes.
Yeah.
This film is not scored by John Carpenter. Mm-hmm. The score, at times, clearly going for a Suspiria thing. When it was quiet, it was almost imitating the Suspiria theme. And I think, not that Carpenter was going for inspired by Suspiria, but somebody somewhere was. And you think of like an all-female setting, and okay, like I can kind of get Suspiria is like the good version of this movie.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Which might make less sense than this movie does, to be fair. But I mentioned the score because Carpenter, as a filmmaker, is someone with a very distinct style. And a lot of that comes from the music, but a lot of it comes from how he shoots things, too. And you don't really see any of that in this movie. I think this felt like John Carpenter was just a director for hire. It felt like a paycheck.
Yeah.
It wasn't written by him. Now, I don't know how many of the latter-day films he really wrote. I know he wrote some of the earlier ones. I don't know if he wrote In the Mouth. I don't think he did write In the Mouth of Madness. This film didn't really have any of his kind of trademarks as a filmmaker. It really just felt like this is a generic horror movie. Wes Craven had some success coming back to the genre. Let's get another old head in here.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's not really a swan song. It's like a drowning swan song. Or it's like a swan that's been hit by a truck song. You know, it's this kind of sad note to end John Carpenter's legacy on. It makes you want to write to him and say, can you make another fucking movie, please? Something better than this. Set it in the 80s. Use your cool synth music, you know?
Yeah, because that's one thing, he's continued to make music, even when he's not making films. Like, he did the score for the new Halloween movies, but he's actually released albums in this century, and so he's, like, still doing music. Now, the synth stuff might have been a little out of place in the 60s, but also, like, everyone associates Carpenter with synth, but if you go back and watch the original Halloween, it's mostly just piano. It's not like he couldn't have done something different. It's like whatever. It's just not very good, and it's a frustrating movie because the ending is stupid and it. The ending I don't want to say the ending's stupid,
but it is, though.
Maybe it is a little bit, but the ending makes the entire movie feel pointless. That's the problem I have with it. Almost nothing that we've been seeing is real, or it's not real, at least as the way the film presents it. But we don't learn anything that interesting about the character. Like, if you compare it to Shutter Island, which is a film I haven't seen in forever. It's been over 10 years since I've seen Shutter Island. So I want to say we learned something about his character, though, through his delusions. We don't really learn anything about Amber Heard / Sydney Sweeney / whoever the actual character is.
Yeah, and I think the problem is, like, if you're going to compare it to Shutter Island, the whole plot of the movie was for Leo and Mark Ruffalo to figure out this mystery. So the whole movie, they're working towards this mystery, and they're getting closer to the answer until, in the very end, isn't it Ben King's? Isn't he? Is it Ben Kingsley?
Ben Kingsley's in that, I think. Yeah,
and it's Ben Kingsley that has to eventually step in and say, okay, this has gone on far enough. We have to tell you the truth now. You are a mental patient here at the hospital. This is what happened. We thought that this would help you, right? Him and Mark Ruffalo, because Mark Ruffalo, I think, is his, like, psychiatrist or whatever. Okay. But this movie, there's a mystery of who this ghost is or who Alice is, but they never get closer to solving that mystery throughout the movie. Whereas, like, in Shutter Island, you felt like the characters were getting closer to solving that mystery. Here, that doesn't happen.
That's a good point. Like, they come across the ghost. Amber Heard fights the ghost shortly before she learns the truth, but she doesn't come any closer to figuring out who the ghost is.
Yeah, what they discover is the ghost's name, Alice, and then she discovers that the other girls suffocated her. But, like, that's the extent of the mystery. It's like, okay, who is the ghost? Okay, it's Alice. Why is she upset with us? Oh, because me and my friend suffocated her. What are we going to do? Escape the asylum, I guess? Every time they try to escape, the ghost steps in, Amber Heard gets knocked out, and the attempt is thwarted. You have the mystery. The mystery is solved. It's a woman named Alice who was killed by the other people in the asylum. That's it. So then the secondary mystery is, why can't I get out of the asylum? Which isn't a mystery, because you keep getting stopped by the fucking ghost and you get knocked out every time. They're not making any headway, so it's not until the last 10 minutes when she learns, oh, I'm actually Alice, and then the Alice ghost, for some reason, shows up, and they both jump out a window. What's the point? I don't get it. Why... is this supposed to make the rest of the movie better?
I mean, I agree. It's frustrating. It's, why did Carpenter come back for this script? Is
and it can't be the fucking money, because it was a $10 million budget and it only grossed 5.3 or something like that worldwide. It's
not good. Carpenter. I read somewhere that, like, Carpenter seemed, like, excited he said, like, oh, the reason I wanted to come back to this is because it was all set in one location. And I'm like, yeah, but wasn't that for the budget, though? Like,
Yeah, but it also...
You can't tell me Carpenter looked at the script and said, I'm going to make my Rear Window.
Yes.
Carpenter had to have been looking at this script and said, I know how to make this cheap. I can't imagine it was anything much more than that.
Yeah. And for somebody who is so used to making movies on a shoestring budget and pulling off the impossible, look, what the fuck happened here? Were there too many cooks in the kitchen? Was he not actually in charge? Was he just sitting in a chair watching a guy film the movie? Was he excited that it was in one location because he didn't have to move that much?
The George Lucas syndrome? I don't know.
It was just kind of a waste of time. It was just a waste of time.
It really did. It did feel that. Like, again, that's what the ending... It wasn't just that the ending was bad. It was that the ending made the entire movie feel like a waste of time for me. Because, like, why should I have cared? Not that I ever really did, but...
How do you fuck it up so badly? So I got home from work last night and watched this, Patrick. I went to the convenience store right around the street from me, and they were selling king cans of Coors Light. So I got myself 4 king cans of Coors Light. I came back, 10 minutes in, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And I drank all 4 king cans before the end of the movie, and I was like, this is just like... I was like, I wasted my night. I would have had a better night just walking around, or even just laying in my bed, drinking my beer. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's how I feel about this movie.
It's a major disappointment. I had seen it before. I didn't really remember anything about it. I might have even seen it before I really knew who John Carpenter was. I just saw it because Amber Heard was in it, and I thought she was hot. It's really not worth watching. It's my least favorite Carpenter movie. He might have others that are worse. I will take Vampires, I will take Memoirs of an Invisible Man. I will take both of those films over this one. It's not very good, and I'm feeling all the emotions that you're feeling too, because I'm currently editing our old episode on the original Halloween and making that into a YouTube video, and I'm just like reminded of how friggin' awesome Carpenter is.
Yeah,
and it's like, why didn't we get that? Why didn't we? It's a shame. Directors lose it. It's like, you don't think of directors as having like a shelf life the way, you know, athletes do, because like, you know, an athlete hits their mid-30s and just can't do the same things that they used to be able to do, like, right? But there's a director, there's nothing physical. It shouldn't happen that same way, but it still appears to. For a lot of people. And again, Spielberg and Scorsese are two of the exceptions. Clint Eastwood, who just recently retired as a director, was continuing to make pretty good, you know, not the same kind of consistency as Scorsese, but he still made some good movies recently. Directors just, they can lose it. And I don't know if I've seen a director lose it and then get it back. Like, whenever it was that Carpenter lost it, if you want to say it's Escape from L.A., like, he never got it back. And the fact that he's still around, too, you know, over 15 years later, he's not even 80 yet, so he was, like, early 60s in this movie. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what happened.
There must have been some kind of, like, studio intervention or something.
There's no studio. This is like an independent as hell movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. If Film Nation Entertainment is the biggest company involved.
All I remember about reading about this was that it premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival, I think.
Okay, probably their Midnight Madness section.
Yeah, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is shit. This is terrible." And then the rights for the movie were bought up by a couple companies after that, and then they started distributing them. But yeah, in the States, this movie grossed a little over $7,000, like $7,500 or something.
So that's a New York and LA showing, I would imagine. But yeah, this is a movie that, like, if this were just like a Shudder original,
it'd be fine.
I wouldn't feel that bad. It would be like, well, whatever. But the fact that it's attached to arguably the greatest horror director of all time, you know, you can throw James Whale, George Romero, Wes Craven, Dario Argento, Mario Bava. He's in that conversation. He's on the horror Mount Rushmore, or at least very close to it. The fact that it's directed by him, it's just makes it so much more offensive.
Yeah, it's just sad. His time came. The curtain was closed. The lights are out, and that's it.
But that will not be the end of our podcast, because we will be coming back next time. But of course, first of all, we have to go through this song and dance. Jim, which film do you prefer? Steven Spielberg's Raiders of the Lost Ark or John Carpenter's The Ward?
Well, as much as I hate it, I think I'm going to pick The Ward. No, of course it's Indiana
Could you
Jones.
imagine, by the way, this, I mean... I'm imagining trailers for The Ward because someone said it in the because this movie apparently was released as John Carpenter's The Ward, not just The Ward, but like John Carpenter's name. That. But like,
no.
Just imagining a trailer. It's like from the director of The Thing and Halloween, and it's like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, and then it's just this. It's just,
then you spend money to go and see it. Like, you know what, dude? I had to rent Raiders of the Lost Ark off of YouTube, which is like $4.99 or something, and I don't care. It's a fantastic movie. It was a great way to wake up in the morning while I was having my coffee and breakfast. Thank God The Ward was on Tubi, and Tubi's free, because if I had to pay for it, I would have been a little more pissed off than I am.
I've paid to watch worse movies than this thing. But yeah, it's obviously Raiders of the Lost Ark is the better film. And course. So the real question is how is this as a double feature?
I think it's a great double feature because you can see how movies are made and what they can be versus what trash looks like.
Well, and again, I think trash is too strong of a word for this, but I do think this is interesting in the sense that not that Carpenter was ever on Spielberg's plane, but Carpenter once had it, and he's a director of the same generation as Spielberg. Carpenter is never really brought up in the conversations of like the new Hollywood. Like that's always thrown around with Spielberg and Lucas and De Palma and Coppola and Scorsese. Carpenter, has always felt like he kind of belongs there, but it's just never really talked about in that. But his best films are from the era where many of Spielberg's best films are from. Raiders, the same year as Raiders of the Lost Ark, Escape from New York comes out. Starman and Temple of Doom came out the same year. And
yeah.
Oh, actually, The Thing and E.T. came out the same year. Arguably the best film by both directors. But yeah, this is an interesting look at, and it also makes me grateful that Spielberg, and again, I haven't seen Disclosure Day yet, but it also makes me grateful that Spielberg has not lost it, certainly in this way. And even if Disclosure Day isn't very good, and I've heard kind of mixed things about Disclosure Day, Spielberg's still been able to make some good movies recently. Like I really do like West Side Story quite a bit. A lot of people like The Fabelmans. I've never seen it. Yes, Spielberg still has something to say as an artist, and it's a shame that John Carpenter didn't in 2010.
Yeah.
It's also a good double feature because Raiders of the Lost Ark is just that good. You would have to follow it up with complete movies. Shit to make that. Anytime you watch Raiders is a good time. So
yeah,
that is that. I mentioned one of the filmmakers we're going to be talking about next episode is Wes Craven, because we are doing Vampire in Brooklyn, the movie he made right before Scream, back before his revival, I guess. And we're also going to do another feature from another director that we've covered on this podcast before, because we are doing a legendary film, Plan 9 from Outer Space, from director Ed Wood. So Craven and Ed Wood, we got Eddie Murphy and Tor Johnson and sort of Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, sort of.
In Vampire in Brooklyn and Plan 9 from Outer Space, coming up next time on Revenge of the Drive-In. Thanks for joining me, Jim. I'll see you around.
See you, everybody.